Hello everyone, and welcome back to our course. In this lecture, we're going to learn more about how we can work with attributes of tags. So we're doing a deeper dive. First, what if we have a tag that has multiple classes? All right, so for that, let's go ahead and create another example here. We're going to create another beautiful soup instance. Okay, so I'm going to create a new code cell. I'm going to create soup3, and I'm going to instantiate beautiful soup. This time we can use a paragraph tag, and let's make sure that it's in quotes though, because it has to be a string or HTML. And let's give this paragraph some sample. Then we can give this paragraph a class, but because classes can be shared between multiple elements, you can also have multiple classes on one element. For example, let's do class 1 and class 2. All right, and what would happen if we tried to access the class property of this soup3's paragraph? Well, let's find out. Okay, so first we need to grab that exact paragraph. So let's grab soup3.p, and we can print out soup3.p. We get that paragraph. Let's store that result as our, as our tag. Our tag will equal soup3.p. Then we can get that tag's class property, and the result is going to be an array. So we don't get one string, we actually get an array of all of the classes. Let's look at an example of what if we tried to put multiple IDs onto an element. Well, we'll actually find out. Okay, so let's create a new soup4, and we'll instantiate beautiful soup. Then let's make a heading 3, how about? And we'll give it an ID of, let's do my ID. Okay, and then let's close that heading 3, and let's put some text in here. Sample heading. So what if we tried to put multiple IDs onto a heading 3? So we can give this ID 2. Well, this is actually illegal in HTML. You can't actually have two IDs in HTML on one tag. Instead, this ID is going to be treated as one giant string instead of two separate strings like for a class. So if you then try to grab soup4.h3 and then you try to grab its ID, it's going to return for you just the one large string. So it's kept as a single value, because by HTML standards, an ID can only be a single value, so it will be treated as a single value, whatever you put as the value for the ID. A class, however, because HTML knows that classes can be multi-valued, it's going to immediately consider each space to be the location of where a new class value begins. But for an ID, it's different. HTML will not treat a space as a break. And that's why we get this one long ID returned instead of an array of IDs, because you can only have one ID on a tag. There's also XML, which is similar to HTML, also very commonly seen in websites. So if you're parsing a document as XML, take note that there actually are no multi-valued attributes. So that's the difference between HTML and XML. For example, let me do an example of XML soup, and I'll instantiate beautiful soup. I'll create a heading 4, and I'm going to give this heading 4 two classes for this example. Let's do class 1 and class 2. Then we can put in text, and we can close that heading 4. Then our parser is going to be XML instead of HTML this time. Make sure it's a string. Because we're now using an XML parser, we can't have multi-values in XML. So if we try to print out XML soup.h4 at the class key, we're actually going to get one long class. So that's a key difference between XML and HTML. This course is primarily focused on HTML, but just take note that there are other document types like XML. and you can often encounter them as well. All right, and that is how you can work with attributes with Beautiful Soup. Coming up, we're going to learn how we can add navigation to strings, so how we can move throughout strings. Join me in the next lecture.